let's watch a little bit of the like old school long step where like it was like pretty much like a perfect like way to introduce the long step to the new generation. There's a lot of these matches that we're gonna watch now are the matches that I was watching like growing up. I remember being a juvenile, a purple belt, a brown belt, and watching these matches.
And I just like I love this highlight because just implements like leg work, escaping out of the guard, and like long stepping, and just the way how like it's amazing the way how he was doing this like 20 years ago, and like it worked very well for the guard that they used to play back then, and it's a very successful movement for nowadays.
Yeah, and I think the main difference, like you guys like studying this, you guys are gonna notice that people back then they were using a lot of the butterfly guard.
Mm-hmm.
So when he does the long step, like he doesn't have a lot of trouble to free his legs. So it looks like a very clean version of the move.
Especially there you go.
It's like really good.
There was no lasso back then, or like.
I remember like watching this match and like drilling so many times, like trying to repeat this move. Like he goes to the side and then he long step.
Mm-hmm.
You can see like the way I did and the way you did, like the tripod right after the long step. Look how he stays with the head down and hip up, like making it very difficult for his partner to turn.
That's why I also, one of the fights that I selected was him fighting Nino Chambry, because Nino was one of the very first guys that played lasso against him. So he does long step, like very different than he does on the other fights, when they play like butterfly and deep half.
This one's really good too against Roger Grace.
He goes leg weave. So he goes leg
Look,
weave.
opens the gap the same way I was explaining, and then he attacks, controlling the head.
Switching to the back.
Jumping on the back. Really good.
This is more, this is 2014.
This one was from the butterfly guard, look.
Yep.
Really good,
bottom hands.
yeah. I remember drilling this technique too. We used to do a drill where one person is in the butterfly guard, then you adjust your head on the chest, and then you complete the long step.
Because Ramon, you used to train with him, right?
Yeah. So
I know you trained like a few times, but like Ramon used to be more present in the training sessions because they're more like adults.
And
back then, right?
this technique here was a drill that they used to do all the time. You start on your knees, the person has butterfly guard, and then you focus a lot on adjusting your head on the chest before you attack.
When you went, like, what was like, like I'm saying like this, like, 15 years ago, what was the training like when you used to teach? Was like warm up, sparring?
Yeah, it was a lot of sparring. It was like a very good group of young competitors. And then very similar to what we used to do in my academy and the way we do today for the competition training. Mm-hmm. So basically split the group into categories, put the girls together with separated by size and level, and then and mix like the guys or the younger kids, and then just separate people by level and size.
But back then it was like a big difference, right? Because like people used to train differently, right? I feel like that was the first study.
He was the first. I think that was probably the first competition only academy. Like when he opened his academy, was only focused on competition, and versus a lot of the other academies were just regular. Yeah, were a lot of regular academies that had a group of competitors, but his academy was, I think, was the first modern style with competitors only, almost like a social project. A lot of the techniques that we do nowadays, like weave, and for sure a lot of influence. He influenced a lot our game.
Here's where he does duck under.
Nice.
Again, go back. There's a long step.
Duck under.
He does a long step, grabbing like a crazy dog grip. Crazy dog, long step,
Nice.
and then switch to the other side. I feel like because like his jiu-jitsu was like a lot of movement like this, a lot of like his techniques were like moving a lot, so it was hard to stabilize. But then some of them, like you could tell that whenever he was like he had a strategy for a certain person, like he wouldn't switch much. You know, like
You
it's
can see the
exactly
fights
how he
against
did.
Marcelo Garcia, right? Like
Yeah,
where,
he
like,
wouldn't switch much.
he's like paying more attention
And exactly like how we were saying, like
when you compete worlds.
when you
and-
compete worlds and when you compete like
Yeah.
just like a regular tournament.
Yeah, I think like when you know there is a higher risk of like losing,
Yeah,
then
so
like
long step.
you're more cautious with like what you're using. I like the way like they use
From
the
the
long
outside.
step here in this position. Look how he's like very flat and
And the chest stays down. That's like the biggest. I feel like the biggest example on like keeping the chest down is this one right here. Look how he doesn't lift his chest up. His chest and his head stays down the entire time.
really, really good.
Oh, this one's amazing. Long step. Boom.
This one is really nice. We drew
We,
this
we, we
technique.
worked on this situation like a few days ago when the person stepped in foot on the bicep.
Like this guard is actually like hard because the person's controlling the pants and they're controlling the spider guard on the other side. If you don't know how to escape, the person can easily
Like
get
elevate.
under. Yeah, it's like I really like that. He moves to the side. He removes the foot from the biceps before he does a long step. It's a very good combination. Removes the foot, opens the gap, long step. Really
I
good.
feel like on both sides too, like there on that specific scenario, you could tell that there was like starting a new change of a guard. Like people were foot on the bicep and like even like more lasso. Eventually like start switching it up from butterfly guard and deep half.
Yeah, I think like the guard was already improving, like that, but like he was the only person doing this style of passing at that time. Like you would not see anybody doing like, this type of jiu-jitsu. Like this is another really good long step. Look, nice.
Versus holding cross sleeve.
And it's nice to see too how like he's just like how we do, like he was always controlling the collar too as a way to maintain himself closer to the head. Like
Yeah, he always controls the distance.
I think like the old school guys were always like trying to hug the hip and like more like a smash pass.
Or go on in the legs.
Yeah, and like he is doing more of like the movement, using grips to stabilize. Like amazing jiu-jitsu. You can see that he improved a lot. Like he was not moving that much in this.
Yeah, this was his first
this
Worlds,
year. I
yeah.
think his first world. So like he's not as confident moving. Like when you compare this to like
Yeah.
2 years later,
He was,
you're
like,
gonna
more
see,
shy, huh?
Yeah, like 2 years later, like he was moving and attacking much more.
Oh, here.
That was really good. From the last.
But again, like, I feel like Nino was like he started doing more lasso. So like Terere does the movement that we pretty much happens nowadays. The situation is the exact same. Like you're able to do the long step, but not able to pass because that hand's still stuck.
But like just like as we talk about when you were juvenile, like the same thing. Like you do a big move like this and you hit the side, that builds your confidence a lot in the match and like
Yeah, right
makes
here.
the other person like feel afraid of your attacks. It changes the direction. Look, a very good attack, like how he makes him turn and defend the guard, like spin turning and defending. Very good. That was a good example. Let's go to the next one. Terere and Shaolin.
Look how he's gonna use the shin slice. Like shin slice, escape.
First.
And he's doing like the same long step details using the grips.
Yeah, just like
And goes
how
with
you
the
did
belly,
with
yeah.
the neon belly. Like, really nice. A good example. Like, again,
The same position that I do on Tommy. The same one.
like using exactly the same technique.
Yeah, same one that I fought against
Again,
Tommy.
just like I said, I think it's good for people to watch and like they study because there's many different. A lot of times, like we do the techniques, we do the drills, and like we train the details. But a lot of what happens in the sparring, it's part of you implementing like your own details or like you adjusting to that moment in the fight. And sometimes like you're gonna use just a portion of the move, and you're gonna get the result you want.
Yeah,
So I think this is part of like getting experience and like competing or like training a lot will give you this ability to recognize like how much of the technique you have to use and when to switch the technique, when to keep going, when to switch sides. And yeah, it was really fun. I think like all the examples that we use in this study, like they will, people should go to YouTube and like try to watch the matches because like if you study the matches and you try to recognize the details that you taught in the master class in the fights, I think like they are gonna understand much more after watching your master class. Will be really nice.